Well, we know that there are many of amazing upcoming titles to be released on the Xbox Series X console, but which games are some of the best games to play on your Series X console right now? Well, here is a list of 9 Xbox Series X games to be played on your console, and also all of these games can be played at 4K 120 frames per second with no problem. Starting off this list is A Plague Tale: Innocence. This game was released on May 14, 2019, for previous gen consoles and PC, and also the Nintendo Switch, but recently it has received a patch that enables it to run at a native 1440p on the Series X, but it is super sampled and upscaled for 4K display. This game runs naturally on the Xbox Series X console at a 60 frames per second, but some people have found ways to enable the game to run at a secret 120 frames per second. Maybe if you do some digging you can figure out how to do so also. The Plague Tale: Innocence is an action-adventure survival horror stealth game that is set in 14th century France, where two siblings have to escape the swarms of different flesh-eating, blood-sucking rodents caused by one of the worst pandemics in human history, known as the Black Death. And if that isn't bad enough, the village people blame your younger sibling Hugo for the plague, and they are trying to kill him for this reason. So you will have to try and survive the plague while trying to keep your younger brother alive and safe from the village residents. The Plague Tale: Innocence was also nominated and also won many awards for its rich game story alongside with its game setting, game design, and many more awards, so go ahead and give this game a try. Next up on the list we've got Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is a platform adventure Metroidvania video game developed by Moon Studios, where you can explore and collect, absorb items, and of course fight off the bad guys in style, with a lot of weapon and combat style fighting to choose from, with fast-paced combat being something similar to Hollow Knights, and now with new Xbox Series X capabilities to run this game at 6K 60 frames per second or even at 4K 120 frames per second, you can truly fly through this beautiful platformer, fighting off foes and helping your friends. And with tons of loads of magic at your disposal, and a large environment to run or dash or even swing across at a super fast 120 frames per second speed, you just can't go wrong. Ori and the Will of the Wisps was released on November 10, 2020, for the Xbox Series X, so I think it's time you give it a try. Up next we've got Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. At this point, I think everyone and their grandma has heard about Rainbow Six Siege at some point in life, since the game is one of the best video games to ever have been created. Anyone disagrees with that is still wondering, what does the fox say? Spoiler alert, ain't nobody knows. Let's not get carried away. Okay, where was I? Oh yes, Rainbow Six Siege is an online tactical shooter video game developed by Ubisoft back when Ubisoft were making good games, but of course even a great game like Rainbow Six Siege wasn't spared from Ubisoft cash grab. But despite all that, the game is very much enjoyable thanks to its large fanbase of gamers that are still playing this game, which is almost 6 years old since Rainbow Six Siege was first released on November 26, 2015. Well, with a team of special operators, with each operators having their own unique set of skills and weapons, you will have to make sure every second count, because this game is like Call of Duty's little brother. You die quicker than a bot getting quickscope in Call of Duty, that is if you're not playing tactical and careful, which I never do. And also with tons of mode to choose from, like player versus everyone or PvP, which put you in a team either to rescue and secure an hostage, and sometimes hostages, or even to disarm a bomb before it blows to prevent the enemy's team from getting the victory. So go and make sure to play Rainbow Six Siege, cause why not, when the game runs at a 4K dynamic resolution and a 120 frames per second on the Xbox Series X. You already know you're gonna have a great time, either that, or you're gonna rage quit. Good luck. Up next we got everyone's favorite game, the Halo Master Chief Collection. I mean, these games literally pave way for Xbox and the Halo game franchise when everyone needed something new and fresh to play. The collection includes the different type of Halo games from the franchise, which are Halo Reach, Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary, Halo 2 Anniversary, Halo 3, and Halo 3 ODST and Halo 4. I mean, those games are a lot just to pronounce. All these games have their own campaign stories, which lasts for hours on hours on hours, and to top it off, the multiplayer gameplays are just mind-blowing, bringing back the same feeling to many of players who cherish their Xbox 360 and original Xbox Halo days. I ain't one of them though, sadly, but that's why the Halo Master Chief Collection was such a brilliant idea and an awesome game, because it gave me Or us for that matter, the younger generations. It gave us the chance to feel the same feeling many before us felt when playing Halo, and that's just great, and it's even better with 4K 120 frames per second on the Xbox Series X. You need to go play cause you're missing out on history, and you don't want to miss history lesson, do you now? The Halo Master Chief Collection was released for the Xbox Series X in November 2020. Up next we've got Battlefield 5, which is a first-person shooter video game developed by DICE and published by Electronic Arts. Battlefield 5 was released a few years after the brilliant and great success of Battlefield 1. And also Battlefield 5 is the 16th installment in the Battlefield series, simply making the Battlefield franchise one of the longest-running franchises ever, and with the upcoming release of Battlefield 2042, which is currently being developed by DICE to be released later this year. So you see, this franchise is only getting bigger and better as the years go on. Battlefield 5 is a multiplayer online game with huge destructible maps where two large teams are going to fight to capture the most flag for the longest period of time to ensure victory, and with airplanes, tanks, and military vehicles that you can use at any given time to ensure your team's success. And this is just one of many modes this game is to offer. This game even has a Battle Royale mode, which was a big flop, but you can still give it a try. Battlefield 5 was first released on November 20, 2018, for previous-gen console and PC, but can be played on the Xbox Series X at 120 frames per second. Next up we've got Call of Duty Warzone, which is a free Battle Royale game, but this game is owned by Activision, so you know there's microtransaction. But you don't need to buy these microtransactions as the game is not paid to win, unlike its little brother Black Ops Cold War. Yeah, that game was built to milk your pocket. That's if you are a person who rather pay your way to victory rather than grinding your way to achieving all your accomplishments. In Call of Duty Warzone you will be placed in a match with a lot of different players, 150 players to be precise, with some of the different modes going all the way up to 200 players per match. A typical Warzone match can last up to 25 to 30 minutes, while a game like Fortnite matches will last for 15 minutes on average. But there's a thing that makes Call of Duty Warzone stands out from all the different Battle Royale games, and that reason is known as the Gulag. The Gulag is a place where you're sent if you died in your Battle Royale match. This feature basically gives you a second shot at victory, and that's even if you manage to win the Gulag match, and to do so you will have to 1v1 with a player for your second chance at the game. But if you lose, don't worry, as your teammates can still buy you back into the match. Call of Duty Warzone was released on March 10, 2020. And with a 120 frames per second support for the Xbox Series X, you have no reason not to give this game a try. Next up we've got Mad Max. I remembered when this game came out in 2015, and I was very mesmerized by the game's beautiful large vast desert map filled with lots of canyons, caves, deserts, and abandoned wastelands, as the Mad Max game is an action-adventure game set in an open-world post-apocalyptic environment where a majority of the time is spent driving around in your dusty old Doom buggy that you can collect parts to upgrade to enable the vehicle to drive much more faster, and you can also upgrade your Doom buggy to be even more durable and stronger, since the game has a great emphasis on vehicular combat, which is a brilliant idea and is done to perfection in this game. And another thing that is very well done in this game is the customizable appearances of your main character Max, and also the great fighting skills and mechanics this game has to offer, and with a crazy amount of enemies that will stop at nothing to kill you, rather in a hand-to-hand combat or even in vehicle combat. So you got to keep an eye out for these guys. Mad Max can be played at a 120 frames per second on the Xbox Series X. Up next we've got Titanfall 2, which is the sequel to the first Titanfall game. Titanfall 2 is a multiplayer and single-player title developed by Respawn Entertainment and published by Electronic Arts. In Titanfall 2 you can and will take control of Mecha-Robot, which are exoskeletons with a massive arrays of weapons and amazing features including super strength, jumping abilities, and even parkour, which includes double jumping and wall running, and more. And these exomecha robots even have a built-in grappling hook which can be used to grapple the player to different types of locations, and can even be used to grapple enemies in for the player to kill. And this game has one of the best fast-paced running, jumping, and sliding that has ever been implemented in a video game. And with one of the best and most heartfelt campaign stories to have ever been made in the history of video gaming. And also with this game running at a 120 frames per second on the Xbox Series X, you just need to go try this game out for yourself. You can thank me later. Now for the last game on this list, which is Star Wars Battlefront 2, which is also a sequel to the 2015 Star Wars Battlefront, which was a reboot of the Star Wars Battlefront series. Star Wars Battlefront 2 also features multiplayer and single-player elements and also have a lot more content compared to all of the Battlefront entry before it. But this game was once destroyed by the great monetization lord, EA, by added way too many microtransactions and pay-to-win features, which quickly lead to problems and eventually cause the game to be shut down for a period of time. But since then the game has come back from the dead even better with fewer microtransactions and with paid-to-win removed, finally making the multiplayer enjoyable. But the campaign story wasn't all that good in my opinion. But you can go and find out for yourself, because Star Wars Battlefront 2 can be played on the Xbox Series X at a 120 frames per second. Well, thanks for watching and bye. Until next time. Oh, and please share your video ideas that you would like to see me make in the comments section.